All right, welcome back. So in this tutorial, we are going to give a long-term memory to our agent. In this section, our agent to compose a poem, it required three pieces of information: country of origin of the movie rating, and how many lines you want agent to compose. As you can see, we can provide some instruction right here, and our agent will extract that information and construct its memory. Also, this is our snapshot of the current memory in our system. So agent has no memory whatsoever. It doesn't know the country, rating, and total lines of poem as of now. Let's build up some memory for our agent, providing some instruction. So as you can see, I have some pre-built instruction right here. And in this instruction, I'm providing line of poem it need to compose, country of origin, and the rating. So it has everything it needs, but I'm going to remove the rating for now and see how that works. Okay, so it's complaining that we have missing data, which is rating. And as you can see, it also populated our memory with the current instruction. So it populated country of origin, US, and total line of poem is 10, but we don't have the rating in the memory yet. So to provide the rating, what we can do, we can just write down PG-13 in this case and run that one more time. Okay, so this time it found everything: country of origin, rating, and total lines of poem, and it was able to give us a poem. This poem is from US and rating is PG-13 movie based. All right, so we already built up our memory, and it will remember this for another time we try to compose. Okay, so now what we can do, we can move away from this page and come back again. And as you can see, our snapshot of that memory is still there. It doesn't go away because this is a long-term memory. So we save this information in our local storage and we just get it from there. Now you don't have to provide this information again. You can write down something like that. Write a poem and you don't have to provide anything further because it will get it from our agent memory. Okay, our result is back. As you can see, no surprise here, is just a PG-13 from US movie based poem written, and it is 10 line long. So now you can see this can be persisted and agent can reuse it over and over because this is a long-term memory. So now let's go to our Visual Studio to find out how we can achieve this. Okay, so we are on Visual Studio and we are going to look into this file, movie to poem with memory agent. As you can see, we have two agents, memory agent and the poem agent right here. So that way you give the memory to agent, you just use one of the class that agent framework provide. As you can see right there, AIContextProvider factory, where you give your custom class that inherit AIContextProvider, and there you pass your memory agent. So that will collect and extract user input to get user selection like movie rating, country of origin, and to the line number you want our agent to compose the poem. So that's the main thing in this file. Okay, other than that, everything is similar like we did before, but let's go through this. Okay, so user selection memory class we just added to have the memory capability, and the way you do it, you implement another class, base class AIContextProvider from agent framework. Okay, so here what you can do, you can override two method, which is invoking async and another was invoked async. So what we will do from invoking async, we will get our existing memory if present, and then we create a instruction with our memory that our poem agent can utilize. Okay, so that's the whole point. So before even calling our poem agent, it will call invoking async method. So whatever we construct, that instruction will be merged together to our poem agent. So these are instruction we are making for our poem agent. So let's go one by one. So first of all, the first message. What is the first message? Is coming from request messages from our context, and that context is our poem agent context. So let's look at that for a moment. So this is our the poem agent. Let's look at it. This is our poem agent message, right? So we are passing these messages and list of messages right there. The first message is user input. So that is from UI. When you saw our demo, we write down compose 10-line poem from US and PG-13 movie. So that is our user input. That kind of input we got it from the UI. So this is our first message for our poem agent to use. So we can get that first message from this context. Okay. Now, once we get that, then we can start constructing our user input. The first one is just a hint. This is user input for our agent to know we are about to give the user input. First of all, we are giving the first message.text. So user inputs is from one of our file. We save everything about the user typed before. Okay, so let's go and see how we get this. So we get it from one of the file we have called user underscore selection dot text, and that is under data slash memory folders. So this is our memory. Remember we saw that one in our demo. So that's what you type it in and it will save it in that file. So how we save it, we'll look at it later, but just to get the instruction just before calling poem agent, we are constructing reading from that memory. So we just append to our instruction. Then here we're saying extract movie country of origin, movie rating, and how many lines to compose from user input above. So now our agent poem agent it need to find out user input from this instruction. These are the current input that we type that in, and also our memory from this file that we saved before. Okay. The next line we are saying, ask user politely to provide missing information. Do not compose a movie if any of them are missing. So in that line, we are saying, poem agent, do not compose until you get all required input from user. Okay, so it will not compose if we don't have those three pieces of information in our memory, or you type it in. You can type it in anything on that input box, but as long as it is in our memory, it will pick it up from there. Okay, so that is the whole concept. So as soon as we created our instruction, we can just return back from using AI context. Okay, so we create AI context and give the instruction, and that instruction will be merged before we call our poem agent. So we are calling our poem agent from here, run async, and it has its own instruction. These are own instruction we created before. Now it has additional instruction from our AI context provider. Okay, so that's where we are getting our instruction for memory, and as we are getting it from user input. Okay, so next up, how we save that in our memory. That means where we are saving to user selection file is going to be invoked right after our poem agent is finished running. So right there, we get our response back. Then we are going to get to this point. Okay, so that's where we are going to get our first message, which is same as before. The first message is user input. Okay, we get our user input from there, so you can type it in anything from the UI. Then we are also saying our current memory is user inputs from that file. Okay, so we got two pieces of information. So one from whatever you type it in, another from our file. Okay, the next line we are saying you only extract input from the current user input. Okay, we have this in memory, so it knows the current memory is right there. Do not extract this again. Okay, so that's how we are saying do not duplicate anything, just merge them together and give us user selection object. Okay, then we get our user selection object, which is nothing but this country rating lineup poem. Okay, then it will give us this information to our response, and what we can do now, we can merge our current, we can update our current selection from the memory. So what it does is try to get it from that file, that text, and if it is able to deserialize it, it will give it to us. Otherwise, it will give you the empty user selection. Okay, So we get our current user selection from our memory, and we try to update those if these are null. So if we have a country null, it will update with the result we get from our underlying agent. So remember, this is our memory agent. Okay, so this is our memory agent. How we know this is our memory agent? That because we call the chat client. So this is chat client is coming from the constructor, and we pass it from our context provider. Remember, memory agent dot text client. Okay, so we are calling that. So once we get this back, we just save it with the updated memory. Okay, so we save that here. Now, once we get to this point, we know what will be our next user input whenever you try to compose a poem. So it's remember, so this is a long-term memory. All right. So recap, we don't use our memory agent directly, but we create AI context provider factory and we pass that along. Okay. And we create our user selection memory, which is our custom class that inherit from agent framework provided AI context provider, and we override two methods, invoking async and invoked async. Invoking async, we can intercept the call just before calling our underlying agent, in this case poem agent. We can give additional context using our existing memory. Okay, and invoked async, whenever we finished our call to poem agent, right after that we can call our memory agent and get the user input from there, and we can update our existing memory. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If you have any question, I know there's a lot, but if you have any question, let me know, writing comment below, and I'll see you in our next video.